What's going on, Victor? What's going on? Welcome, welcome. Hey, Megan. I will wait. I'll be patient to allow for the algorithm to let more of my trailblazing friends know that I am live and we're about to dive into a really power packed conversation tonight for MINDstyle Makeover Mondays. It's going to be so good. I'm looking forward to your engagement as well, your feedback, your thoughts about what we're going to chat about tonight. All right, so we're about almost 1 minute in. And then we'll get ready to start with content in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for our MINDstyle Makeover Mondays chat that happens every single Monday right here on Instagram, on Hey Steve, on YouTube, and it also on LinkedIn now, all right? Okay, so our chats get stored on YouTube, so if you want to review them at any time, you can head on over to my YouTube channel and check it out there. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet us yet, my name is Tabitha Christopher of TabithaChristopher.com. My company founded the MINDstyle Makeover Boot Camp, also known as MSMBC. It is a character and resilience building training program that provides students in middle school, high school, and college with a roadmap to succeed academically, athletically, socially, and emotionally. To learn more about MSMBC, the MINDstyle Makeover Boot Camp, you can visit my website, www.tabithachristopher.com. So welcome, everyone. If it's your first time catching a live broadcast of mine, I would like to know, what was your favorite television show growing up? What was your most favorite television show growing up? I'm going to tell you mine. Family Matters. Oh, yes. Couldn't wait for TGIF. Okay, that was really the only time that we got to watch TV in our household because we had like about 2 channels that worked. The third one was complete static. That's the one that we would watch videos on channel 3. But Family Matters was my favorite show growing up. What's yours? And if you're watching this and you're like, I'm a student, I'm still growing up here. What is your favorite television show? Put it into the comments, share it. Love to know. All right, talking about sharing, right now is a great time to share this live chat. Invite 3 friends in. If you're on Instagram, if you're watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook, share it out. Share it out to your page. Make it easy for yourself to be able to review the content because we're going to be talking about some really good stuff tonight. It may get a little bit deep, but I think it's necessary with what we do here on Mondays. Like, we're all trailblazing friends, so we tend to have deep conversations, so we don't really shy away from that here. If it's your first time here and you find yourself to be a fellow trailblazer, you're going to enjoy these talks as well because we like to go below the surface where we can do heart building conversations versus just superficial stuff. All right, so if you're with that, if you're with deep conversations and get into the heart of the matter, so we can do heart building relationships together, then you're in the right spot. All right. So what is this video going to be about? Well, this video is going to be about, it might be a bit controversial. It may be, it may not be. You may agree, you may not agree. On whichever side of the table that you're on, I welcome the conversation because that's how we grow. We have different schools of thought being able to be brought to the table so we can hear and learn, hear to understand the other person. So the topic tonight is why going back to heal your inner child is not only exhausting and terrifying, it's also not effective. And I'll dive into my reasons of why I say that. And I would love to hear your responses and what experiences you have been having. And if you've gone to that, if you experienced that type of therapy before, or if you haven't, you've heard of others and you want to share what you've heard from others, please feel free to share. But I'm going to tell you why going back to heal your inner child is exhausting, terrifying, and not effective. And then I'm going to share with you what actually works. That's not only worked for myself, but has worked for a little over 7,000 trailblazing friends of mine. So, why should you watch? You should watch tonight's live chat if you find yourself reliving pains from your past. You have sought out help. You have gone to therapy. You have done counseling. You maybe have gone to church. You may have tried to have conversations with friends of yours who have done therapy. You just try to get help, right? But you keep finding yourself reliving pains from your past, whether it's due to unforgiveness or, holding on to those old habits that has led to you self-sabotaging yourself. Or you should watch tonight if you have a question of whether you're worth experiencing a life without toxic relationships and drama. If anything of what I shared in the last 30 seconds pushes any buttons, or you can relate to in any kind of way, I would encourage you to continue watching tonight's chat for our MINDstyle Makeover Mondays. Okay, so let's dive right in. Personal story. When we moved to the States, we being my mother, myself, and my siblings, when we moved from the Caribbean to the States for a fresh start, to get away from what was a lot of abuse happening at home, we knew that there was going to be a period of time, a very short period of time, that we were going to be able to breathe more easier and experience deeper sleep at night without being jolted awake by only God knows what violence is happening, right? And so we knew we were going to have a short period of time where we were going to have peace at home. Now, my mother, being the amazing mom that she is, she immediately put all of us, including herself, into group therapy to heal from all of what we had just left from. Now, while in group therapy, I was I was so excited for this. I was ready to embrace this new start, but then I also understood that my dad was going to reunite with us very soon, and there was going to be that power struggle again. There was going to be some of that. The abuse is going to could come back again. And I was 13 years old at the time. I wanted to very badly understand what tools I could utilize that would be effective in helping me when the challenges, when the abuse would start up again, right? I wanted to know what I was going to be able to do when the problems started. Now, I remember being in this one group where she was in this therapist, she was good. However, but there was this segment of wanting us to go back to sit with our inner child at that point of time of when the trauma took place in our life. And we were to go, walk through that moment again, but walk through it with that little child and assuring that little child that they don't have to be afraid because the bigger you is walking through it with them. I remember when I first heard of that, I was like, okay, I've never heard of it before, but I'm willing to try anything at this point because I know that we have a short period of time before the issues begin again. And I wanted to find or use any tool, any process that will help me to overcome and not be a victim in the situation, but to be an overcomer, to be a victor through it, and be able to self-regulate myself well. So I went through that process. And one thing that I found to be very odd was that there were many other adults that were in that group therapy that was twice, 3 times, 4 times my age. that have been going through this process. Some of them have been going through this process for years, and worse, everything was still so fresh for them. And I remember thinking to myself at 13 years old, I don't want this to be me. I want to be able to go through this process, continue with my life, and not have to relive the trauma that's already passed. Like, how do I overcome it? How do I own it so I can live free from it? Right. And so went through the process over and over and over and over again. And I found myself not becoming free, but becoming angry. The more I went back to those moments, those many moments, I became more enraged. And so I finally had a one-to-one conversation with the group therapist, and I pulled her aside. I said, look, listen, I appreciate everything that you're doing. However, these exercises that you're walking us through, it's not making me experience any peace. I'm just becoming more angry. I'm becoming more aware of how much I don't trust this person who caused me this pain and how much I want to do harm because of what I went through as a little child and couldn't do much to protect myself and others, right? So I'm just becoming more aware of the trauma. I'm becoming more aware of the hurt. I'm becoming more angry. And I'm starting to go back into a mindset that I want to be free from, right? And so then she pulled me off to the side because she saw that there was not, I wasn't in this for no long time process to be having my mother paying monies for no long time thing. No, how I grew up and for where my mindset was is, if I have a problem and you say you have a solution, the solution should be able to fix the problem. And I shouldn't be having to do this forever, going through the same run of the mill stuff and not getting any better, or getting slightly better, but not anywhere close to the finish line yet. No. And so she then pulled me aside and said, okay, there is something that if you do it, if you do this one thing now, you will be able to be free from this pain, from the rage, from the anger, and from looking at that person who hurt you as the enemy. There is one thing that will shift that right now. And I said, okay, I knew it. Okay, tell me what it is. And she said, well, you're not going to like it. I was like, I don't care. Just tell me what it is, because I'm ready to be free. And then she said, until you're willing to forgive them completely. And then I threw my hands up. I said, okay, let's go back to the group therapy, because I'm not doing that. She said, well, that's why we're going through this process, because most people refuse to forgive. And that's what keeps them in this process for so long, is because they want to right the wrongs done to them. They want the person who hurt them to pay for every bit of the pain they caused. They want that person to feel what they had went through. And because so many refuse to forgive, they continue the run of the mill, repeating the same cyclical behavior, leading to built up toxicity, not just within mind, brain, but body as well. So I continued with group therapy because I refused to forgive until I reached a crossroad at that moment back when my dad was coming back home. Well, was not coming home, but coming to reunite with us stateside. And I was like, okay, I gotta do something. I gotta do something quick, because now I'm gonna have to confront face to face my dad, who caused a lot of pain, right? And so I went, talked to the therapist again, and I let her know, like, okay, I'm ready to forgive, like, walk me through the process. And so she walked me through the process, and then she said, well, you won't know if you've actually forgiven until you come face to face with the person who hurt you, And nothing they say or do can cause an emotional reaction, a negative emotional reaction to come out of you. And I was like, whoo, okay. So, so the time came. My dad reunited with us. And I did the work. I did the work and I acknowledged and knew that there were going to be moments where things were going to go awry. There's going to be a lot of moments where things are going to go and get pretty crazy at home, just like before. And I made the decision that I was going to choose to do what was right. I was going to choose to be respectful. I was going to choose to honor my dad. I was going to choose to lead in action of love, care, and respect, even though everything in my flesh wants me to do the exact opposite. And so, oh, so good. Okay, I'm so glad that you tuned in to this conversation. Make sure you do watch it from the beginning because went over some things from the very beginning. I'm so glad that you're here. And so, situations happen, just as I knew everyone knew was going to happen. And so, my actions, more often than not, was of respect, honor, and care. And if I felt like I was not going to be able to behave in that way, I would walk away from the situation. I will admit to you, when there were times when he was hunting me down to stir up and get a response out of me, he was coming to physically threaten, then I stood my ground. I stood my ground and um, I drew the line in the sand. I sure did. Um, Not to threaten to hurt him, but just to let him know at that age of where I was 16 years old at the time. And I let him know that I would not tolerate the disrespect. And I let him know how I would prefer for him to speak to me and engage with me and so forth. Did it change the situation much? No, not much. But anyways, as time went on and I moved from home at, I was 18 years old, almost 19. And I left. I had a conversation with my dad face to face about what I felt, what I thought of him. And one thing that I said was, I can't say that I love you and it's honest. I said, I don't even love myself. I said, but one day I will learn how to love myself so I can love you. It was that was the parameter of the conversation I had with my dad before I left home, because I knew I couldn't leave home in anger and not have that conversation. So we had a long conversation. So I left home. I was still angry, and I held on to that anger for many, many, many more years. And I got into some therapy again, some counseling sessions, and all these different things. And everybody wanted the group to go back to that inner child, back to that moment of when the trauma happened. And again, the more I did that, the more aware I became of the hurt, the more aware I became of the pain, the more aware I became of why I was right to leave from home, why I was right to create distance between myself and my dad. And it only created more of a wall, built up more of a wall within me. And I saw the same happening with every person within the group. I didn't see anyone getting free. I saw more people wanting more sympathy, wanting others to sympathize with them, and no one was actually facing to deal, to heal, and be free. No one was really moving forward or moving on. All right. Everyone was just settling with the fact, we're glad that we're talking about it now. At least we're talking about it. But we're talking circles. We're talking circles. And not any one of us was willing, able, or knew how to confront the person who caused us that pain, because those tools are not provided with going back to the child. Why are we going back? We're not there. We're here. We're living in the present right here, right now. And in this present day and time, if we're taking the time that we have in this present to go back to fix what's already been done in the past, what's happening? You've wasted the present of right now. Wasted the present with going back to something that can't be changed, has already been done, right? It didn't take you out. It didn't take me out. It wasn't more powerful than you. It wasn't more powerful than me to take out either one of us. We're here. We have a whole lot to celebrate. We have a whole lot to lean into and be thankful for right now. Now, when we see behavioral patterns that are coming up out of hurt that we didn't deal with, as in, look, I used certain pain that I went through to define me, to determine my identity. And my identity started to be formed by that past pain. That's when it becomes a problem. That's when we're willingly saying, I'm going to bring you along with me from present to present to present, present to future, present to future. I'm going to keep bringing you with me, allowing that pain to define us to make up our identity. And so when we do that, when that pain becomes like our identity, then we start to do our behavior is influenced by who we think we are. That past pain, and we're trying to protect ourselves from something that isn't happening right now. But we believe it's still happening to an extent because we have not forgiven. We have not said, hey, you know what? It happened. I can't change that. But I'm grateful for the present day that I have today. I'm grateful for the resilience that's been built up because of what I went through and have overcome. You know how you've overcome it? Because you're still here. When I woke up many years later and was still carrying that anger inside of me, fresh, like if someone was to say certain words would trigger me back to certain moments in my childhood because I had not forgiven it. I had brought it along with me because I was deceived in thinking I had to keep that pain at the forefront or somewhere in my vicinity so that I am fully on alert and aware in case something or someone may want to hurt me again. I will be at my P's and Q's so you won't get me. But all of this time, I'm reliving that trauma and that pain because I'm holding on to it. I believe it has a right to stay. I believe it has a right to define me, to determine who I'm going to become and what I'm going to do in any given moment that I'm triggered. What is that saying? That's saying that that past pain and that person who caused that pain owns you. Owns me. They can literally right now, honestly, they could just sign their name at the bottom of you, say I own you, because from way back then they still have power over you today, over me, right? No. And so it wasn't until I was confronted by someone who had gone through some of the same type of group therapy. And thank God for their courage and their love and bravery to confront me and ask, what's my real story? What am I running from? What am I hiding? And I reluctantly opened up that day to share with them. And they told me, they said, well, listen, I'm glad you made it, you survived, you made it out alive. But how many others are in the same situation right now? Like they're actually going through it right now and they have no hope because they weren't privy to get the information that you have, that you had to help you through it. And they may die or be killed because they don't know any better. They don't know. They don't have the knowledge of what to do in that situation like you did. Because you refuse to tell your story, other people will die or be killed from it. So then that put me on the journey that I'm on today, right? Where I've had the opportunity to teach so many trailblazing students, parents, community leaders, educators, and so much more, how to stop faking it and own their story. What I found that actually works is I will confess out of my mouth, yes, this happened, yet it is not happening to me right now. It doesn't define me. I have the opportunity and the gift of the present. And I have the power to choose what I'm going to do with the present of today. Right? So I choose to no longer waste time to go back to my little child, which was always such a weird experience for me. Even when I was a child doing that at 13, going back to when I was 6 years old, I'm like, what the? I'm like, I'm living right here, right now. I got some real issues. I got some real life and death stuff happening right now. I don't got time to be going back to nothing. Let me know right now what it is I have got to do, right? To help me with what I would, to help me with what, to help me with what I'm facing right now. And so that was the way my mind frame has always been. Give me a tool that I can implement right now to the situation at hand that's happening presently so that I'm able to move through into the next moment and overcome, succeed, and continue forward. Right? Alex, so good. So good. Come on. Oh, this is good stuff. Alex said, she said, Alex, the things that happened back then is not your reality right now. There you go. Come on. Come on. This is what I'm talking about. So good. Hey, Terry. I think it's Jerry. I hope I said it right. If I didn't say it right, please put your name into the comments so I can properly greet you. Okay. Um, so Trailblazers, I'm gonna tell you right now, what I will say this, what I loved about the exercise of going back to my childhood was that after it gave me excuse to, in a way, escape the present. Isn't that why we go to the movies? Isn't that why we watch TV or even scroll on social media? Because we're trying to escape something that we don't want to face in the present. And whenever we do that, we are choosing to not allow ourselves the opportunity to grow. We're choosing to not allow ourselves the opportunity to heal. We're choosing to not allow ourselves the opportunity to intentionally live in the gift of the present. And so that's something that I have to check myself quite often, is that when I have something in front of me to do and I'm looking for things to distract me away from the thing that's before me to do right here in the present, I got to ask myself, well, what are you doing? What are you trying to avoid? What are you afraid of? Why are you trying to avoid this? The same thing with social anxiety. How I overcame social anxiety was not going back to at 8 years old when the whole thing happened. No, how I was able to overcome social anxiety that started around the age of 8 years old was being fully in the present and putting myself in situations that I was terrified of. What did that look like? Going to networking events and having conversations one-to-one with people terrified me. And as you're listening to me right here, right now, and if you met me in person before, you're like, really? I never would have thought that. Yes, I wasn't always that way, but something happened at a younger age, and I made the decision at 13 years old that I was not going to allow for anything to have ownership over me or to have me in a place where I feel stuck or paralyzed. So I decided to take whatever it was that I was most afraid of, or whatever it was that owned me, if it was a person, a relationship, or an event, something, I would face it head on. And that's one of the most effective ways, to heal from trauma. And in baby steps. I didn't start off hold on. I did. I threw myself into the deep. I did. I surely did. I was out when I went into the entertainment industry. That's one of the biggest things. You have to be out there networking, I was like, I can't believe that I chose this line of work where I have to constantly be in the presence of people trying to network and build a repertoire and all that kind of stuff. That terrified me. Most people didn't know that, but it did. But I put myself in that position because I didn't want for that social anxiety or any fear to have control over me my whole life. And I kept doing it. Every time I would get invited to an event or a party, for a networking party, I would show up usually about an hour early. So I would be in my car talking myself down from a panic attack, or sitting there until the panic attack went. Most people didn't know that. No one knew that, really. And I kept doing that until that anxiety no longer controlled or owned me. I kept doing it. It took me years. It took me years, but it was the choosing to never give up. The choosing to never give up until I built that muscle up. It's just like going to, I use the example of working out, right? The more consistent you are with training, right? The more consistent you are with training, you're going to build up your strength. You're going to build up your stamina. You're going to build up your endurance. You're going to improve your mobility and flexibility. And you're just going to improve your overall health and quality of life if you consistently practice training. You're going to get better and better and better and better and better. And the things that you was once nervous about, the things that you were once afraid of, won't scare you as much or at all anymore. And so that's my take on it. And one of the things I want to share with you before we go, I'm a God's girl. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ with all of my heart. And it's something that the Bible says here in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. It says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, we can also put in there when I became a woman, I put away childish things. So right there in the scripture, and it's all throughout from the Old Testament to the New Testament, the word of God tells us to be strong and to be very courageous, to dwell in the presence of the Lord. That's where security is, right? Oftentimes we get caught up with studying a fallen, broken man and hoping to learn from that, when the word of God tells us very plainly how we are to live, what the answers are to help us to overcome the traumas, to overcome those hurts, to overcome what is holding us back from moving forward. You have the power to choose. The Bible also talks about in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, it says, I put before you death and life. It's in your hands to choose, but choose life. Choose life. So it's an action, it's actively choosing every single day. When those thoughts come up from the past, say, wait a minute, I don't live there anymore. What had happened. It's not happening to me right now. I am so grateful that I built up the resilience. I'm so grateful that what tried to take me out wasn't more powerful than me, than what was put in me to overcome that. And I choose now today to live in the present. I choose now today to lean into who I am becoming. Power, love, sound mind. To declare what is truth. And whatever and whoever it is that you have to forgive them. And it's like, it's so easier said than done. I understand. Trust me, I understand. For many years, I held on to the unforgiveness. And for many years, I remained stuck in that pain. For many years, that individual and others owned me. And I let them because I refused to forgive. But not anymore. And I encourage you today to not allow for the past pains to own you. To not allow for the toxicity that has built up over the years of just, pent up anger, unforgiveness, that turned into bitterness, rage. Don't let it continue to stay within the house of the beautiful garden of your mind. You have the choice to choose life or death. Choose life. And so what my company did in creating the MINDstyle MAKEOVER Boot Camp, I literally, in this curriculum, walk students through step by step how to create their own blueprint of their legacy success story. So in the MINDstyle MAKEOVER Boot Camp, you learn what is the life formula of success, how to activate it into your life story now. So that as you build out the blueprint of your legacy success story, you know exactly what to do, how to do it, and how to make all of that story a reality. You have the exact specific steps of how to do that. And what happens if, as you continue to learn and grow, you change your mind. You want to become something different. You want to try something different in life. Well, The blueprint formula doesn't change. You can just plug in those different ideas that have come along the way that you want to try and implement. So with the MINDstyle Makeover Boot Camp, it walks you through step by step how to own your story, how to activate the life formula of success into your life, and create the blueprint of your legacy success story and the steps of what you must take in order to make it a reality. So if you're watching this right now and you are a parent of a student of middle school, high school, or college, or maybe you're a student yourself in any one of these levels, or maybe you are an educator and you're wanting access to this training, just DM me or email contact us at tabithachristopher.com. Email contact us at tabithachristopher.com. Email contact us at tabithachristopher.com. One of the things I want to read to you before I get off of here, it says here, this is a quote by the U.S. Department of Education. It says, when educators understand resilience and when support and interventions that develop resilience are available, the students will adjust their behaviors as needed, increasing their likelihood of experiencing mental wellness. So I am very glad to be a part of the solution in building up mental wellness through the MINDstyle Makeover Bootcamp. So again, you can visit www.tabithachristopher.com or email contact us at tabithachristopher.com to learn more. I hope you have the most amazing rest of your day and a winning week. And I'll see you really soon in the social media world, and definitely next week for our next MINDstyle Makeover Monday. Have a good night.